legal options if you can't afford an attorney or you don't want to go through an attorney. And you've got to get through a family law mill. And there are some options, and this actually came up because I had a referral from this group, somebody who was really needing legal advice but didn't have the money to hire an attorney, didn't want to go through intense litigation, was afraid that hiring an attorney would just escalate the other side, which is always people's fear. So I thought I would talk to you guys about that because there are some options in San Diego. The first option is one that's offered by the San Diego County Bar, and it's called the Modest Means Program. And I believe that Modest Means is also available for civil, but I'm not certain on that. The Modest Means Program is an application program. It's for people who make a decent wage, but not a high wage. I believe that it's about $40,000. If you're making $40,000 or less, you are eligible for the Modest Means Program. And what it is it's a mentorship program. Instead of an attorney hiring an attorney at $250 to $600 an hour, which is kind of the range in San Diego, you get an attorney who agrees to represent you at $75 an hour and a $1,000 retainer instead of a $3,500 to $20,000 retainer. So, you know, it's a way for someone who may have some assets, has some income, has the ability to pay for some form of representation to get that representation before they go into the court system. You will end up with an attorney who is less experienced, but the purpose of the program is that they also have a mentoring attorney. So you're probably going to be interfacing with the more inexperienced attorney, but they are overseen by a mentoring attorney. Okay? And depending on how the mentor attorney takes their job, you know, it's just like getting a $350 an hour attorney. Okay, so that's what that program's about. And people can just contact the San Diego County Bar. They can go on the website and see the Modest Means Program. Another option for people is there is actually free services at the facilitator's office in the courts themselves. In all the family courts, there's a facilitator's office. This is free. It's a free service, but they cannot give legal advice. They are merely there to help people fill out the forms necessary to either get a motion before the court, file for their divorce, file their final judgment. They are not allowed to give legal advice. So the only time that the facilitator's office really works effectively is if you have someone who doesn't have complex issues, who doesn't have such a contentious issue that they're going to be before the court a lot. And they have to have the time to stand in line. There's no, gee, let me make an appointment. No. It is the cattle herders going through the legal system. But for some people it can be effective, and actually one of the ways that I think it could likely be effective is if people go and have the forms filled out and then pay an attorney just to make sure that they're filled out properly or get advice on it. Okay, and then they can go back and say, I'd like to have them filled out this week. So those are two options for family law. The law schools also used to offer clinics where, you know, a band of law students would be overseen by a professor and take on cases. Rumor has it that USD Law School is going to open up a family law clinic again. They shut all those down because they just became completely overwhelmed. Because as you guys know, family law has more litigation than any other area of law, so it just got kind of crazy. But rumor has it that USD is considering doing that again. USD and Cal Western have it for criminal defense. And actually, the Innocence Project, which some of you may be aware of, Barry Scheck's program, it was getting DNA and getting people released from prison after years and years and years of being improperly prosecuted. That's actually at Cal Western. So if you find anybody or hear of anybody who is incarcerated and there's a compelling reason, potentially compelling reason that they need to have their case looked at, we've got that resource locally. And I actually referred a case there a year and a half ago, and they thoroughly looked into it. So, at any rate, the other option is that if somebody is looking for, if somebody has a domestic violence issue, there are several free sources in San Diego. You've got the San Diego Volunteer Lawyer Program, you've got the YMCA, you've got the Family Justice Center. So if the issue is domestic violence, there is plenty of free services available, including filing fees. They don't even have to pay filing fees. There are no filing fees when it comes to DV. Let me back up for a moment. If you are part of modest means or you are doing your own paperwork through the facilitator's office, there is also what we call a fee waiver. So you can actually petition the court to go ahead and start your case or file a motion with the court within your case, and you can have a fee waiver, and the court decides based on your income or circumstance whether they're going to waive those fees or not. So if you know people who are in this situation, lower income, don't let them get discouraged by the fact, oh my God, I don't have $465 to file for divorce. If that's the case, they can file a petition to waive the fees. Now, mind you, the court system is pretty broke. So there's been a lot of fee waivers that 3 to 4 years ago would have been granted right away. They're getting a little more stingy with them, but regardless, it's still an option that's there. So I also wanted to say that, you know, there's another option here. People have increasingly been talking about mediating their case. And that sounds really good, right? Well, let's go to mediation. Let's not get attorneys. Let's deal with this ourselves. Well, that's all well and good. But here is my take on mediation. I think mediation is great. If I could have an entire practice of mediation, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Mediation is not overseen by any bar or board. As a family law, as an attorney in California, I'm licensed. The state bar keeps their eye on me. I have to follow all of their guidelines. The way I manage any money that people give me is, you have to be careful, first of all, when you're looking at mediation, that you hire a mediator who's qualified. If you're looking at family law mediation, make sure you're hiring a family law attorney that does mediation. There are several mediators in town that do family law mediation. They're not family law attorneys. They draft up final documents that don't even follow the law. And then, when their documents are so poorly drafted, a few years later, the parties have a problem. I've had 6 cases like that in 2 years. One, a party lost their retirement. Another one, this guy had put the wrong amounts in for spousal support, and the client ended up paying 3 additional years of spousal support. Now you think, oh, well, we'll go tell the court, this is wrong. This isn't what we agreed to. This wasn't what the mediator said, or this wasn't what our understanding was. Guess what? The mediation privilege is almost stronger than attorney-client. You can't go to court and say, wait a minute, this is what the agreement really was. This is what we discussed. Look, I've even got a paper here where I took notes. No, it doesn't happen that way. So you gotta know that when you go to mediation, you're going to somebody who's going to be able to draft the final documents just as well as an attorney who's representing you. one of the ways that you can assure that is that if you go to mediation, make sure that you don't sign anything until you've then hired an attorney to review the document that is supposed to represent your agreement in mediation. That's happened twice. Somebody's walked in, and when I reviewed the document and explained to them what the final document they brought in, explained what it meant and all the terms and everything, they're like, oh no, that's not what we said. And I said, well, that's what this says. Okay, it doesn't matter what was said there. It matters what's said as the final document. So if you know anybody that's going through mediation, that's a good thing if they can get a good agreement. But they're not going to know until they hire an attorney to review the final agreement and do not sign anything until it's been reviewed by an attorney who represents your interests. The other thing is, I swear, I think mediation attracts the most contentious people because they get the idea of, I don't want to hire an attorney, I'm not going to let the sharks in, Well, they're probably already contentious before you. Who you recommend to go to mediation needs to be somebody who is a good candidate. And there's a lot of people who are good candidates for it, but if you've got a friend who's considering it, think about if you know the relationship within the marriage to some degree, whether there's somebody who would be truly better off just hiring an attorney. The other thing is, if people are considering alternatives, whether it's a free service, mentoring or whatever, they also have the option of educating themselves before they go and do any of these things. So going to the San Diego website and just reading what to expect, frequently asked questions, how does this work? I mean, you guys know I've given 10 minutes before just on the procedure of a case because the general public has no idea what to expect. They have no idea how to file. They have no idea what happens when they have a problem with their kids. That they're going to have to go file a motion, go to a mediator, go to a court mediator, go to a hearing, possibly go to 2 or 3, possibly have to come back for review. They don't understand the process. So I'm a huge fan of people getting educated. One of the things that's free services is to go get educated just on the website alone about what's available, because they will also run you through the facilitator's office. You know, I don't think they go through the Modest Means program on our website, I mean on the court's website. But going to the court's website will at least get people started in learning how this works and potentially what their options are. So they don't always have to hire an attorney. They can also go in propria persona, so they represent themselves. I have done unbundled services where people are representing themselves, but they come to me just to consult. Just to say, okay, I filed this, I did that, here's what the court said, what do I do next? And I'll say, okay, go do this, this, and this. And they go do it. So that's an option as well. So if you know anybody who's within this range of not necessarily being able to hire an attorney, or you think they're going to have a pretty civil dissolution and they're considering mediation, these are some things to consider. And, you know, I'm sure we all have people that, you know, are barely getting by. The only caveat that I would say to all of this is that if they have children and there are very contentious issues with the children, they may want to consult with an attorney just on that issue and just on those filings to the court. Because when it comes to kids, you just can't take care of this. You need to make sure that you get before the court what you need to get before the court to protect the children. So, that's it.